Welcome to your complete beginner's guide, user's guide, the complete guide for the Garmin Venu 3 and the Venu 3S. That's a smaller edition right there. I've been using these watches for a bit of time now, along with my wife. We've been putting them through their paces in our training across a whole host of sports, as well as just day-to-day usage. And with that background, I'll be able to take you step by step through this watch on what works well and some tips and things to be aware of. The very first thing to know is that there are two different versions. So there is a 3 and the 3S. The 3 is bigger, it's equivalent to like a 45 millimeter watch, versus the 3S is a smaller watch, equivalent to a 41 millimeter watch. And with that, slightly different display sizes as well. Beyond that, the only other difference is battery life. That's it. It's the display size and battery life. Those are the two things. Feature-wise, they are identical across the board. On the right-hand side here, you will see the 3 buttons, and then it's also a touchscreen. So I can swipe through this like this, so full touchscreen. Meanwhile, on the back of the watch is the optical heart rate sensor. This is Garmin's new Elevate V5 optical heart rate sensor. Essentially has better accuracy. That's the long and the short of it. And then the bands here can pop off using little springs right there. So very easy to pop them off, but they don't accidentally pop off. So all is good on that. Flipping it over, this is your watch face. The watch face is fully customizable. So if I long hold this lower right hand button right there, I can tap watch face. There we go. And you can see I can swipe off. Let me just hold it down for you. I can swipe through these here. This is the one area that's a tiny bit laggy, but otherwise I can tap on this one. This is one of the live watch faces. And you can see as it's just moving the forest very slightly. They're like really small little videos. But every one of these components here is customizable. So if I go back here, I got a watch face. I'm gonna go back to one of the regular ones. Go right to this one I had right here. I can go and tap that little thing at the bottom, hit data, and then I can choose what I want for the different data components. And some of these watch faces have more data components, some of them less data components, and there's a whole host of them that you can change there. In addition, you can also go into Garmin's Connect IQ app, which is their full app store, and download a whole crap ton more watch faces if you want to, including making ones that have your picture on it, or your kids' pictures, or just a picture of an ice cream cone. You can do that there as well. Tapping back from this, back to the watch face, I guess that's what I'm sticking with, I can swipe up like this, and these are the widgets and widget glances. So the widget glances are these little individual bits of information there, and if I tap into it, I get the full widget. And now you can see I can scroll back over the course of the day to see where my steps were. So there's that. I can swipe up different pages here. So these are my steps over the last 7 days or so. And I can see my distance over the last 7 days. And each one of these different widgets has more information on it. So if I look at my heart rate, for example, I can see the heart rate throughout the day. The watch has been off here as I record these videos. But if I can scroll back, you can see there as I charge it right there. Swipe up, I can see my resting heart rate over the last 7 days, down to about 42 today, and then back again. And there's a bunch of different widgets. One of them is body battery here. So body battery, think of that like your Street Fighter energy style. It's essentially what's your battery for the day, your body's internal battery. The idea is that you would theoretically get to 100% each night. Theoretically is important. If you have bad sleep, you're not going to get there. If I roll back here, you can see I managed to get pretty close to that, 98 for the night. I can swipe up. I can see since midnight, I'm down 50 or so, relatively steady and stable. I'm going to show you what's not so steady in just a second. And then you can see the factors that influence that. Plus 47 from last night. So that's my sleep over the course of the night, meaning yesterday when I went to bed, I was only about halfway empty on my tank, if you will. Now, looking at my wife's watch for a second is kind of cool because she not only took a nap this morning, she did some proper research there, but also already has her workout done. Mine's still coming up. So if I tap into body battery for her, you can see it's kind of all over the place, but that's fine. But if I look at since midnight, you can see there's little dots on there. So she's got the one where she woke up right there, 8 o'clock. She's got this nap that she took around 10 o'clock-ish or so. And then there is her bike ride there for a couple hours. And if I swipe up, you can see those factors. So here's the bike at 11:43 for about 2 hours. That basically has negative 24 on that factor. The nap adds 2 for the 40 minutes that she took it for, and then there's the sleep right there. And you'll see other factors show up as well in this list. Things like stressful moments, as well as other workouts, etc., will all appear here. Now, if we back out of this, one of the things that you may have been noticing is that the display is turning off or dimming. There is essentially 2 core modes with the Venu watch, being an AMOLED display. That's this kind of pretty display. And you see this one turned off entirely, and this one will go into a dim state, though because it's on the table, it'll eventually turn off. It's not on my wrist. You see now it's dim there a bit. And those 2 modes are always on or gesture based. Always on is, as the name implies, like it is right now, it's always on. And gesture based means that it's going to turn off when you're not looking at the wrist. So this is what my wife's watch is on right now. So if I'm sitting here like this, it'll be in a dim state in always on, and I raise my wrist, goes to full brightness. In gesture-based, if I'm sitting here like this, the screen will be off like you see with hers, and I raise it up and it goes to the same full brightness. Certainly that impacts your battery. You can see this battery chart right in the screen here. Impacts it quite a bit, in fact. Now, in the case of myself, I'm using always on, and I'm getting about 4 days of battery life between charges. Garmin claims 5 days, but I have way more workouts than their like baseline assumes. I'm getting about an hour and a half of GPS time workouts per day, so that's increasing that battery consumption quite a bit. To charge a battery has been taking me pretty much about an hour, from roughly 10% to in the 90s or so. I don't usually bring the battery down to 0% just because then I don't have the metrics anymore. You can change these options in the settings by just long holding this right hand button right there. Go to settings, all the way down into system, and then display. And you can see there's the option for general use to be always on or not. So just tap that there, that would turn off, and then back on again. You can actually turn off gesture as well. So if you wanted to always be off until you tap it, then you would select that button right there. I wouldn't recommend that, probably kind of frustrating. Also a new option on the Venu 3 though is the large fonts option. So if you have eyes that would prefer a larger font size, just simply tap that, and this will make the fonts a little bit larger and easier to display or easier to see. Now, heading on back here, now we're back at the watch face. Now, you can swipe through those widgets I mentioned earlier on. You can see all that like that, no problem. But I just press this to escape, by the way. This is your escape key, essentially. Just pressing this escapes back. But I can also press the middle button once and gets to a new recents menu. This was introduced on the Epix and Phoenix watches and allows me to quickly hop to any of those widgets. I can say, oh, boom, I want to go right to the steps widget, and it gets me there. What you may have noticed, though, is a cool new option, though, tap that again, called flashlight. Now this option here is accessed a different way, but it's new on the Venu and allows you to create this flashlight using the display. And you can turn the brightness down. There's 3 levels of white light and 1 level of red light. This is awesome for nighttime, and it'll remember your last setting. So I usually leave it on red because that way at night I don't like illuminate the entire room. And this is pretty bright. It's not as directed as the flashlight you'll see on the Phoenix 7 or Epix series because that's a really strong little beam there. But this works pretty darn well, and I like it for getting around like hotel rooms in the middle of the night and stuff like that, or even just up and down the stairs or something along those lines. It's great. Don't take your phone with you. Now, the way you configure this, though, is to go back in the settings. There we go. Settings, and then shortcut. And there's a new menu option called right swipe. And this is the one I've set it for. You can set it for anything. If you don't want the flashlight, you want to set it for the phone or the timer or stopwatch, whatever the case is. The point is you can set it whatever you want. Go back here, back to the watch face. I just swipe to the right and boom, flashlight. And I can escape out of it by pressing escape, or I can swipe back the other way. Now, back into some of the daily stuff here. So we got steps, we talked about that. All of these metrics that you see right here, you can look at in more detail using the Garmin Connect app. That's on your smartphone, right? Load the Garmin Connect app up, and you can go ahead and look at all those metrics for way longer time frames, like days, weeks, months, years if you want to. And it's cool to be able to see them, chart all that stuff over time. You can see little tidbits of that here on the screen there. But one of the things I want to talk about in more detail on the watch is the sleep tracking. So there's some new features in the Venu 3 around sleep coaching, around nap detection, and so on that are worthwhile making sure my microphone is good, still recording, that I want to kind of dive into. So the first bit here is your basic sleep tracking. You see your sleep score right there. That's your overall sleep tracking. I tap into that and I see my sleep score for last night was 71, my duration, quality's fair. And this colored line along the bottom there, that's showing you basically your sleep phases. And I'll show that in just a second here. I can tap the upper right hand corner and it said your sleep was a bit short, but you had good deep sleep. You effectively balanced your stress yesterday by periods of rest after periods of stress, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. That's actually pretty accurate overall. It was a Sunday yesterday, so kind of pretty chill. Swipe up there. You can see my sleep stages, sleep phases, so deep, REM, light, and awake sleep. And the same is true here. I wouldn't overthink the sleep phases and stages. I don't tend to find this super accurate across any wearable. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Just that's there for you to consider. Backing out, though, is the new feature of the sleep coach. So if I tap this open, you can see there's my personal baseline of 7 hours and 50 minutes. And then if I tap the upper right-hand corner here, you can see what the sleep coach says. So it says that tonight, my current sleep need is 40 minutes more than my personal baseline. That's why if I go back, it's recommending 8 hours and 30 minutes tonight. I'm not going to get 8 hours, 30 minutes tonight, but I appreciate that optimism, Garmin. If I swipe up, you'll see the factors that influence this. So sleep history, meaning I increase sleep need because I'm basically below that baseline. My average is 646 versus my baseline, what it wants me to, is 750. If I tap back again, activity history. So you can see I've got a lot of workouts going on there, so my activity minutes are increasing. Tap back again. HRV, this has no impact on my sleep, meaning that I'm in my green zone, pretty much in the middle of it, down the back here, so life is good there. We'll talk about HRV in just a sec, don't worry. Back again, and nap. There's no impact on my sleep needs tonight because I didn't take a nap today. But my wife, as I mentioned earlier on, did take one for the team. So if we swipe up here and go down into her sleep coach stats, make sure this is in your screen there, her sleep coach stats, we can see we have sleep history, activity history, kind of the same as me, HRV, she's in her zone there, towards the bottom a little bit, but going back up again, and then nap. And you can see right there, this nap is 40 minutes in total, and then it does say at the bottom to avoid feeling groggy or disoriented after your naps, aim to be asleep for 30 minutes or less. You know, I like longer sleep, so I don't blame her for that at all. But the cool part is that nap was tracked automatically. She didn't have to do anything, she just fell asleep and it tracked her nap. And I did the same thing last week as well, just fell asleep. Again, proper research and you know, validating the watch features are all working, and it tracked my nap as well. You can also manually toggle sleep mode if you want to. So to do that on the watch, you long hold the upper right hand button here, and then go into sleep mode, and that will go ahead and toggle that. And in sleep mode, what it's going to do, I can set a nap timer, by the way, right from that, which is kind of cool. But let's cancel that out there. But in sleep mode, it dims the display down to this right here. So it looks really, really dim. I'm not sure how dim it looks on the camera exactly, but it's dim. And this is great at night because it won't wake you up. And if you wanted to see this at night, raising the wrist doesn't do this. You have to tap the screen or the buttons to see that. But it won't blind you. It's cool. So that's kind of the sleep thing. I can undo this by just hold again, turn off sleep mode. And keep in mind, sleep tracking, like it said there, is not impacted by that at all. That's just simply dimming the display as well as setting a do not disturb on the watch so that nobody's interrupting your beauty sleep. Now next, when you wake up, you've got the new morning report. So the morning report, as you can see right now here, first shows you the weather for the day, and it's the very first thing you see when you raise your wrist up in the morning. You won't see the rest of the watch, it's just that morning report there. And you can swipe through it to see different stats about last night's sleep as well as the upcoming day ahead. And this is one of the features that people have absolutely loved since it was announced on Garmin's watches about a year or so ago, on other watches that is. And it's cool to see it here in the Venu 3. And you can customize this if you want to or turn it off entirely. So lower right hand button right there, and then go to settings, and then go into notifications and alerts, and you'll see morning report right there. If I tap this, I can change my name if I want to, or just click edit report. And these are the components that I've added to mine. Oops, and go down to the bottom here, and I guess I selected the ad, and I can add the steps goal, floor goal, or pulse ox data to it. So this has less features or less options than some of Garmin's other watches. They're higher end watches that have things like training readiness on there, or it'll show your upcoming structured workouts, etc. So this does have slightly less things, but that's fine. It has the core things that I would generally look at anyways. Now with that, there's also another new feature that's like morning report, but for night. So if I go down to health and wellness right there, you'll see the daily summary option. Now showing you on the screen, this is daily summary from yesterday or today or sometime in the last few days here. And what this does is essentially like a little mini version of the morning report, kind of consolidating your day and telling you what the day was about and then how that might impact the upcoming night's sleep. This is very basic though, like arguably probably too basic at this point in time. I appreciate Garmin's direction here. I just like to see a little bit more depth out of the data. Still, it'd be cool to see this concept expanded in the future. Note that this automatically appears 2 hours before your scheduled sleep time, which you can set either on the watch or in the app. Also note at the bottom of the same page is jet lag. So these are notifications that can occur for recommendations. The way this works is you'll set your trip up in Garmin Connect on your smartphone. You'll put your effectively your exact flights in there, and it will track it all for you, and then give you recommendations ahead of your trip, during a trip, and then after your trip. And in using the same feature on Garmin's other watches, it's pretty darn solid. Like, I've traveled literally millions of miles. I've got million-miler status on airlines, and so I would say all of these recommendations are spot on with my real-world traveled a ton recommendations and experience. Now from there, let's dive into some of the sport mode stuff. So I'm going to back out of this a bunch, back to the watch face, and then we'll go ahead and tap the upper right hand button to go into the sport modes. Here you see your sport modes on this side here, or the apps on the right hand side. These are things like you see there, music, flashlight, etc. We're going to go into sport modes. And if I swipe on down through this list, I can keep on going down further. These are all the sport modes that are offered on the watch right now. Over time, we see Garmin usually add some sport modes, but generally speaking, the Venu doesn't get many sport modes after launch, like a couple, versus the Epics and Phoenix and Forerunner series I literally saw in the most recent update 31 new sport profiles just this quarter alone being added. And I'm hoping we'll see like more, I don't know, I hope we see more sport profiles added to the Venu in the future, because again, they're the same price as the other watches. Anyways, backing out of this right there, we'll just choose the Run Sport Profile. And there we go. And this is the screen where you wait for GPS at the top, as well as your heart rate locked down at the bottom. I can tap this little button bottom there to go and set a workout. So I can choose this, and I can choose one of the workouts that are on the watch, so mixed intervals, etc. This is where workouts would appear if I've downloaded them from Garmin Connect on my phone or on the website onto the watch. And there's a whole bunch of workout options there, not only individual structured workouts, but entire workout programs for like 5K and half marathon, triathlon, and cycling, you name it, they're all there. And almost 100 or maybe more than 100 now of different custom workouts that you can create and push to the watch. But on the Venu 3, there's also the ability to do intervals on there directly. So you can do open repeats or structured repeats, and you can go ahead and customize what you want in this. So I can change, for example, the interval duration by distance or by time, the rest, the repeats, warm up. That's all configurable on the watch itself, where in the past you had to do that on your phone and then push it to the watch. If I go back again, swipe up, you'll see your training calendar here. This would be if you had a training program loaded, it would show you that full calendar. And if I click on settings, I can customize my data screens. So settings here, you get 3 customizable data pages. And if I choose the third one right there, click edit data fields, I can then see some of the fields that are there. I tap this again, and I can choose which fields I want. Generally speaking, the Venu has all the fields that you would expect on like an Apple Watch or others, but it's not as many as Garmin's Forerunner lineup. And we see this in the case of running, for example, where this doesn't have any of the running power options that Garmin's Forerunner lineup does, the Phoenix, the Epics, blah, blah, blah. Those are not offered on the Venu, which is weird because Apple offers that on their Apple Watch SE for literally less than half of the price. And I would have expected Garmin to offer it here, but they don't, so that's that. But you can go up to 4 different data fields per page. You can see the layouts there. I can change up to 4 fields, 3 fields, 2 fields, or 1 field. And again, 3 unique data pages, plus this heart rate zone gauge right there. Tapping back once more, I can go into alerts. I can add new alerts. These would be heart rate, run, walk, pace, time, distance, cadence, calories. And then from there, you can say, hey, alert me when I get to 100 calories or whatever configuration you want. You can configure these alerts automatically. And of course, you can keep on configuring alerts depending on what you want for each given sport profile. So you may have one for run, but different for cycling and so on. And the same is true of auto lap, auto pause, auto scroll, and so on. These are all configured on a per sport profile basis. Broadcast heart rate, that is if you have, for example, a Peloton bike or another app like Zwift or any app on your phone or any app on a dedicated device that accepts either Bluetooth or AMP+, that'll go ahead and broadcast your heart rate to those devices. That allows you to wear this watch on your wrist as opposed to a chest strap and then see that data, your heart rate data, on whatever other app or device that you have. Once you're done configuring all this stuff, you just go back here and you tap the upper right-hand button and that'll start that. And then now you can swipe through your data pages like this to see the data that you want there. There's a heart rate one. And if you want to create a lap, you can press the lower right-hand button and that creates that lap. It's pretty straightforward. You can also hear it talking, by the way. Listen.
Lap 2, 6 seconds.
Because it has that speaker built into it. And the same is true if you had headphones, you would hear that through your headphones. Now, all of this could also be configured on your phone using the Garmin Connect app. So all the data pages, data configuration, all the settings in the entire watch itself can be done there as well. So you have the option. You don't have to do it all just on the watch. Once you've finished up your workout, you'll get a summary screen. You can see some video or photos of that right now. You'll see like a little track breadcrumb trail outline of where you went. And if you swipe down, you'll see more information about your workout, including things like zones as well as laps and so on. All that information is displayed there. But as with all Garmin watches, this is just a fraction of the information that's actually recorded. Instead, you can go into the Garmin Connect app and you can see a gazillion other metrics there, as well as on the Garmin Connect website. So you can see, again, just a small number of those 4 pages that I put right there on there, but there is a ton more information there. One of the metrics that you will see, though, as you scroll through on the watch is the training benefit. It's essentially going to tell you what the benefit of that particular workout was in terms of like a training, mostly an aerobic standpoint, and you'll see that displayed there. You also see below that recovery time. And that's recovery time really until your next hard workout. So you may see like 40 or 50 hours there, especially after a harder workout. Don't think that means you can't work out at all. That's really until your next hard workout as opposed to just maybe a recovery workout or a different workout type. Now, one of the things that's worthwhile noting before we end this section is the live tracking option. This will automatically send your friends and family a link showing where your position is on the map, as well as any of your stats, like your heart rate stats, your elevation, your power, cadence, all that fun stuff, depending on what sport mode you're in. And it's really, really handy. My wife and I use it. We automatically send a link to each other. So as long as our phone is with us, the watch will tell the phone, and that will go ahead and basically start a tracking session automatically, and that tracking session is live then for up to 24 hours, depending on how you've configured it. And it's just a nice way for you to keep tabs on someone without having to like remind them to do something every time. It just automatically happens. It's great. It's also a really handy safety feature in case something goes wrong to know where they are. Keep in mind though, again, because there is no cellular in this watch, that does require your phone be with you and the Bluetooth be active and the Garmin Connect app be somewhere in the background of your phone. It doesn't have to be open, it just has to be somewhere there hanging out. Now, speaking of that cellular connectivity, now's a good time to talk about some of those phone features. So on this watch, there is a speaker and a microphone. That's different than a lot of Garmin's other watches that have a beeper, but not a speaker, and they certainly don't have microphones. This allows you to take calls from the wrist, again, assuming your phone is within range. Effectively, your watch is acting like a Bluetooth headset. That's the simplest way to think of it, except it has a few more features for calling. So if I tap this upper right-hand button right there, there we go, and click on apps, I can go into phone. There's two options here. One, I can use a dialer. So remember that like sticky note you put on the kitchen next to the phone with a really long cord? Same thing right there. And I can go back and I can use my contacts. And so here I can look at all my contacts. I can tap on one of them and then I can tap again to go ahead and start calling that particular contact. In this case, it's my Android phone, far, far away. I'm not going to answer that. You'll hear it ringing. There we go, you can hear it ringing right there. I will go ahead right now though and insert a real call so you can hear what this actually sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, you sound great. I can hear everything. It's like, I don't know if there's any, loss just because you're overseas and I am, but I don't know. Sounds pretty good to me.
In addition to the real call that you heard, there's also emergency calling. So if I long hold this upper right hand button, so I'm gonna keep on holding, past the controls menu right there, keep on holding, and boom. Now it's going into emergency contact mode. And I can choose to either call someone or text someone, or I can choose to stop. So I'm gonna do that right there before it notifies all of my contacts. Nope, stop. This will notify my emergency contact and it'll either start a call or send a text message. And when it sends a text message, it'll also send a link, basically live tracking. So like in an absolute horrific worst case scenario, you were kidnapped in the back of a car, you could actually use this and it'll send your friends and family, assuming your phone is with you, and tell them exactly where you are in real time. It's also handy if you're just feeling unsure about circumstances and you want to start a live tracking link, you can do that, or start a phone call, you can do that, etc. from that there. You'll configure that in the Garmin Connect app on your phone, including all the contact information, and that'll be available automatically in case you do need that, or in case instant detection triggers as well. So if you were to crash while riding your bike, it'll trigger that same notification to your same contacts. You have that same 10 seconds or so to cancel it before it goes in and contacts them. And also true if you were to fall while running, they'll do the exact same thing also. Now, what's cool though is that speaker can be used for other things like music. So let's talk about music here. Back into the watch, I'm gonna swipe down and I'm gonna go down to the music option. Now in this case, I have loaded Spotify in there. There's a few different options you have. You can load Spotify, you can load Amazon Music, you can load Deezer, you can load MP3s or podcasts. Those first three are offline streaming services. That means I can actually download the music onto my watch, go out for a run with nothing more than just the watch if I wanted to use a speaker, or with a pair of headphones. No phone is required. You just download the music you want. So if I tap here in this little library, I can see I've downloaded the Fun Run Fun Run playlist. I can add music by tapping this here, look at playlists, and this will enumerate the playlist in my Spotify account. So you can see Pump Jams and Taylor Swift and whatever else is in there. This is a custom playlist, this is not, and so on down the list. And if I were to tap add, it would connect to Wi-Fi and download that music. If I were to swipe back though, I'll go back to here, back again. I guess I go this way now. I can choose to tap this and it'll play. And I have two options. Do I want to use the Bluetooth headphones that I've already paired? And the cool part is you can pair multiple Bluetooth headphones if you want to, or I want to use a speaker. Obviously, I want to use my speaker. And there you go. And I'm trying to avoid a copyright strike. So there's that playing that music back. It's not bad on the wrist. Like if you were in your own little home gym or out in a field somewhere by yourself and it wasn't super noisy or something like that, this is totally fine to use. I would not be a bad person and use it in the middle of the gym with everyone else around you, but this does work like by itself, no real problem. From a music downloading standpoint, when you download that music, it takes a few minutes to do that. And then anytime you plug it into a charger, it'll automatically update the music. So like in Spotify, for example, where you have dynamic playlists, it'll update that anytime you plug your watch in. I haven't had any problems with headphones or anything like that. All that's kind of, those days are past us of like connectivity issues with headphones, at least it seems like it anyways, as both watchmakers and headphone makers have figured out how to like talk to each other in a low power world. Okay, so the last section to talk about here is the wallet option. Garmin Pay is let's call it, so contactless payments. And this is the ability to load a credit card, or any card I guess, onto your watch and then tap to pay something. So I got my handy dandy card reader here, and this will allow me to go ahead and kind of demonstrate this. So loading a card is easy. You'll use the Garmin Connect app, and then you just follow the prompts through. It's super quick and easy. The challenge, though, is making sure your card is one of the supported banks. In the US, no problems at all. Most everything that you're going to have is probably supported. However, outside the US, it's a bit more hit or miss. Some places, totally good. Some places, not so much. I have US credit cards, and my Chase card is supported, no problem. But I live in the Netherlands. Neither my Dutch card or my French card from living in France is supported. So again, kind of hit or miss. Once you have that loaded, though, on the watch, you'll tap the upper right-hand button and go into Apps and a Wallet. You can customize this, though, to be the swipe right option if you want to. You can go into recents. You can different ways to get to it, is my point. From there, you'll enter your passcode. Mine is super secret. Okay. Once that's done, it says hold near reader. From there, you'll just simply hold it near the reader. So I've got my reader here. There we go. Got this turned on, and I will charge myself a fake €1 for something. Connect. Now, once that's done, you'll see the watch is ready to go there. I just simply tap it on the reader. Boom. Success. And it should show me success over here. Payment approved, and I'm done. It's really as simple as that. Now, in terms of entering that passcode in, it'll require only when you take the watch off your wrist. Otherwise, it'll save that on there so you don't have to constantly do that. But once you take it off, it will require that passcode again. And with that, we're done. I've covered everything I want to cover on my little list right there as far as I know. Don't forget to hit the like or subscribe button on the bottom there if you made it this far. It really does help out this video. I promise you, it generally does help out this channel and the video itself. Also, if you want my full review up in the corner, and if you want my written review, it's down in the link-a-doohickey down below to check that out as well. With that, have a good one.